Hei, velkommen til Infinigate TV fra HackCON 11. Jeg her sammen med Soz. Hi, welcome to HackCON and welcome to Norway.
Yeah, it's good to be here.
You're the last speaker out. Could you tell us what you're going to talk about?
So my talk's going to be primarily a defensive talk that's looking at the fact that surveillance these days is the business model of the internet. Right? People have associated the internet with free services. And so those free services, they're paid for somehow, and they're paid by exploiting the data that you give to those services when you use them. So my talk looks at the traces that you leave online, first off, and motivates why you should care about the traces you leave online, taking as inspiration the ultimate adversary, right? The intelligence agencies, they're the most hardcore adversary you would see, so what kinds of things are they interested in? And we can infer from that what criminal agents, criminal groups, hackers, things like that would be interested in with those that information you leave online, how that makes you vulnerable. And so then the second part is about OPSEC, which stands for Operational Security. That's a military term referring to keeping operations secure, and why individuals that are engaged in normal activities, work and recreation should care about OPSEC and should care about reducing the traces they leave online, incorporating false information into their online traces, and basically reducing their personal attack surface that's available out there to anyone who's willing to pay for that data that people are collecting, or pay for tools for extracting that data, or be interested in attacking you for any reason.
So services, so online free services, such you're talking about social media, profiles,
social media, Google, e-commerce, all sorts of areas which have a significant business model in exploiting your data for ad targeting or predictive psychological analytics.
Yes, because and of course, like ad targeting with tracking cookies and see where you go from one site to another, stuff like that. And disinformation you mentioned. So, what do you mean specifically?
So all of these tools are aggregating data into a database and then extracting profiles based on that data, behavioral profiles, psychological profiles. So I think it's important to poison those databases and make sure that those databases aren't a true subset.
Right.
They may never be a complete picture of your activities online, but they also shouldn't be an accurate subset, because that can tell you a lot about a person. So it's important to keep in mind that you should try and seed those databases with false information so that conclusions that are extracted from them are of less value to an attacker.
Yeah, and then the OPSEC part, will you cover, say, employees of a organization, perhaps how they could minimize their exposure? Or
yeah, my talk is very much a personal, has a personal focus about empowering individuals to care about their own security, but it has obvious implications for the enterprise, because if your employees are aware and they're thinking about it, it's that much easier to have them think about security that's relevant to the organization as well. And a lot of risks that organizations face right now are personal risks. For example, spear phishing. Right? If you talk to penetration testers, the way that they get into an organization is by first broadly targeting with phishing, but then they try and identify who's important in that organization and who has privileged access, and targeting them specifically. And that is enabled by the information traces that they leave online.
And I'm sure that, I guess, there are fairly simple things, countermeasures that people can actually do that they probably just don't do. I mean,
yeah, there are lots of tools available to use, and many people use some subset of them. So I concentrate on a brief overview of tools that basically everyone should be using, and then more importantly, a tool is only as good as how you use it. So if a tool used badly can be worse than no tool at all. So I talk about some common pitfalls and some ways that people can misuse tools and make themselves vulnerable in that way.
Well, I'm looking forward to it. Thank you for
Great.
Thank you for the interview.
No problem.